Hello again, it's Dave Robinson at Sustainability AV, the online conference, the first online conference from ProSound News Europe and Installation Europe magazines, tackling green issues in the professional AV industry. It's now 3:30 and we are talking to Andy Mead, who is the managing director at Firefly Solar and Firefly Solar, and he's also the sustainability consultant at the Lovebox Festival, which for those people who aren't familiar with that's the independent festival. Well, it was an independent festival, but I mean Andy will tell you more about that. And it was initiated by Groove Armada some years ago. And it's in Victoria Park every summer, as far as I remember. One reminder before I hand over to Andy is that if you have any questions about the themes that come up, then there is the Ask a Question button on the website below Andy's photo, and a dialogue box will come up, and you can submit a question, and we will field them. I will field them to him later. So, Andy, over to you.
Yeah, hi, thanks, David. As David said, I'm Andy Mead. I'm the MD at Firefly Solar. We're a Brighton-based company that offer mobile solar power and low-energy technical production to the event industry. We've been going for 3 years now. We design and manufacture and operate our own portable solar generators. And we work with predominantly festivals in the summer season, some of which you will know, including Glastonbury Festival, Tea in the Park, the Isle of Wight Festival, and Lovebox Festival, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about today. In 2009, we were approached by Lovebox Festival to provide a solar-powered stage, which we did, and at the time was the biggest solar-powered stage in Europe. And catered for about 8,000 people as the second stage at the 2008 event. And then in early 2010, we were approached by the festival again, who wanted to start addressing the negative environmental impact of the festival, and in particular the carbon emissions on site at the festival. And so I was brought in as the sustainability consultant at Lovebox. As we discussed, I just would like to move to the next slide, but I don't have an active button for that. If we could look at that. And Lovebox is a 30,000 capacity festival. It's based in Victoria Park in London, and it's owned and internally run by the Mama Group, and has been for 2 years, who are a music group who also own the Mean Fiddler, Barfly venues, Jazz Cafe, and others. And so we really wanted to start to look at the negative environmental impact of the festival, see how we could start to address that. And there were several different areas that we decided we needed to look at here. I'm just going to cut to my slide.
You actually have the control, Andy, I think.
Okay, excellent. I'll just cut that to that. No, I don't have control on that, so...
Okay.
Oh, there we go. I do now have...
You do.
Okay. No, I don't have control. So I don't have control of the slides, but if someone else does, and if we could move to the third slide, that would be helpful. So the considerations for the sustainability review at Festival, which was the first thing we needed to do, was to try and get a baseline of what the negative environmental impact was for the 2009 event. We looked at a few areas, including the procurement process, so the supply chain, where were they based, what sustainable practices do they operate. We also looked at the travel and public transport. So in that area, that's looking at the production transport, so all of the logistics of getting the equipment that's required to put on the event to the site, and also the getting the ticket holders and the public to the event. We also looked at accommodation, so that's for artists and for all of the crew, and the sustainability of the accommodation. How close was it to the site? How would people get to that accommodation? One of the key areas that we focused on was energy, and in this area we're looking at on-site energy consumption and carbon emissions related around that. We also looked at recycling and waste, so with a view to increasing the amount of recycling and working out what was the best thing to do with the waste that we then couldn't recycle, and whether we could reduce that non-recyclable waste by reusing things like plastic cups. And then in terms of water use, looking at how we manage the water use on site, as well as advertising and promotion. So could we do more digital promotion to reduce the waste of paper? If we are using paper, can we reuse recycled paper? Can we use eco-friendly inks, etc.? And then finally looking at the catering supplies as well. So were they ethically sourced? Were they locally sourced? Fair trade food and drinks, and this kind of thing. So when we started to get all of the data together, and we worked with Julie's Bicycle, who I believe are involved in this debate and presentation.
We're here this morning, yes.
We found that Lovebox differed from a lot of the music festivals around the country in that transport was not the key contributor towards the carbon emissions of the festival, owing to its London location. The vast majority of the ticket holders arrive by public transport. The festival doesn't offer parking on site, and it's a non-camping festival, so that meant that transport played a far had a far lesser impact on the carbon emissions as a whole of the event. So the two key areas that we needed to look at from 2009, the major contributors were waste and recycling, and we set a new target for 2010 to recycle 50% of the waste and to reduce the amount of waste going to landfill. And in this instance, it was decided that we would incinerate waste for energy rather than put waste to landfill, as this reduces the overall greenhouse gas emissions, while obviously it increases the carbon emissions. And then obviously looking at energy, which is where we concentrated our efforts, and where it ties in really with the AV side of things. And that's true because the first thing we want to do as a festival is to reduce our on-site energy consumption. And if you look at the energy consumption across the site, then that's broken down into a number of different areas, some of which are easier to reduce consumption than others. For example, it's difficult to reduce the energy consumption for caterers because there's less energy efficient heating elements available to us in that particular industry. So in order to try and reduce the energy consumption on the catering side, it was about trying to incentivize caterers to think about their energy consumption. And one idea we had, which we hope to implement in future years, is to meter the energy consumption of caterers so that they're buying their energy by kilowatt hour rather than a flat rate for energy. And this offers them an incentive to think about their energy consumption. But where we could start looking at significantly reducing energy consumption on site was in AV, because there has been such a huge amount of progress over the last 3 years or so in terms of the availability of very efficient lighting and also sound equipment. And so that's one area where we decided that we could do something. And so really it came about to trying to work with our suppliers to choose to use low energy lighting fixtures predominantly, including LED lighting, plasma bulbs, as well as discharge lamps, and reducing or completely stopping the use of tungsten bulbs altogether on site. This can have a massive impact on the total carbon emissions for on-site, because we can reduce the number of diesel generators and the size of diesel generators on-site because we have less energy consumption per stage. So it's quite viable to reduce the overall energy consumption of each performance space by at least 50% by using low energy lighting fixtures. So that's a policy that we started to implement across the site. And what this allowed us to do also was to incorporate renewable energy. I mean, what we found with the reduction of, or with the employing low energy lighting across the fringe area of the festival, which incorporated 5 small stages catering for a few hundred people each, that we could reduce the energy consumption there by almost 80%. This immediately reduced the number of generators on site by 3 sets at 100 kVA each of which could be burning around 20 or 25 litres of diesel an hour on high load, which you can imagine mounts up to hundreds of litres a day and thousands of litres over the course of the event and setup and breakdown. So, as well as being able to reduce the number of diesel generators on site, it also meant that we could start to incorporate renewable power on site. And so in 2010 we managed to run 5 stages at the event using solar power and a hydrogen fuel cell, which contributed towards reducing the number of diesel generators and also made for a point